many people might know about Khashoggi. So after he killed very bad at the Saudi Arabia embassy, so why Canada doesn't stop the deal, which is a weapon deal, with the Saudi Arabia? I know that US and the Canada, we are like brothers, and somehow it's not possible to become independent from a good friend, US, maybe Trump, I hope not. But why you at least don't try to become independent, not be a partner of a crime, like selling weapons?
No, thank you for your question. First of all, Canada has been very, very clear on issues around Saudi Arabia, that we have real concerns around human rights. We actually got significantly sanctioned. They pulled their embassy, their ambassador. The Saudis were going after or inciting or removing Saudi students from, international students from schools across the country. There was a significant diplomatic conflict with Saudi Arabia just last summer because we spoke up so loudly and clearly on the unjust arrest of women's rights activists in Saudi Arabia. Further to that, the killing of Jamal Khashoggi is something that I brought up directly with the Crown Prince as something that Canada has very serious concerns about. There is nothing more concerning than the murder of a journalist who's busy doing their job because they are embarrassing or challenging to a particular regime. That is one of the foundations of any free society, and the world rightly needs to stand up clearly to highlight that. There are a lot of things that we have very real concerns about Saudi Arabia on, and Canada has been one of the more vocal countries in engaging with this. So I totally understand your question on why then are we continuing with a contract to sell light armored vehicles to Saudi Arabia. Now, this comes to a challenge of the rule of law. Canada, under the previous government, signed a contract to sell these light armored vehicles to Saudi Arabia. And when the government changes, Canada, as a country of the rule of law, needs to respect its contracts. As I've said, we are looking into the export permits, and we are looking for ways to demonstrate that this is not entirely in keeping with what Canadians want, particularly given recent impacts.
I'm looking at the fact that Germany, France, and a bunch of other European countries that stood up on the same side of the fence when tyranny was coming down on us. We've got an open border allowing this stuff to come in freely. And what are we doing about that thing in particular, an open border? What are we doing about it? Okay. You're talking about my freedom and everybody's lives who gave here, everybody who put their life down on the line, and you're saying, it's okay, it won't happen to us. It's happening in France and it's happening all over.
Sorry, sir, what's happening?
The people are saying no, because these two cultures will not mix.
Which two cultures are those, sir?
Islam and Christianity.
No, sorry, okay, hang on. Let's be, sorry. Democracy only works in a country like Canada if people are free to express their fears, their concerns, their opinions, and we get an opportunity to respond to them. So I'm going to ask you all to be respectful of the Speaker's question. And thank you for sharing your concerns, sir.
I've got one other thing I want to say about it.
Okay.
Is that they've openly stated that they want to kill us.
Okay.
And you're letting them in.
Okay. Sir, how am I going to go on this one? Canada is a country that was built by immigration. Waves of people came to this country, were welcomed by the folks who had lived here for millennia, the First Nations and the folks here on Treaty 4 land, and built this society with waves of people fleeing religious persecution, fleeing tyranny, fleeing to try and build a better life for themselves here than they had back home. Let's be very clear. Kinder Morgan was walking away from the Trans Mountain Pipeline. They were walking away because they felt the political risks were too great. They felt that the context they were in with the government of BC being opposed to the pipeline and the complications they were facing around this, they wanted to throw up their hands and walk away. And for me and for all Canadians, it is an absolute priority to get our oil resources to markets other than the United States. Folks in our oil industry, in Saskatchewan, in Alberta, are suffering right now because of a massive differential in the price for Canadian oil, because we are prisoners. 99% of our oil goes to the United States right now. And, on top of that, the United States is sometimes a challenging partner to deal with. It makes sense to diversify our markets to markets in Asia. So we need to get our landlocked oil resources to markets across the Pacific. The Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion will allow meaningful impacts on that. And that is why we made the decision that the federal government should take over the pipeline expansion project. Okay. It's interesting that you started with concerns about facts and truth in answers and in our approach. And if we're going to have rigorous debates about what the best way is forward for the country, I think we need to do it around the facts. Now, there is a lot of misinformation out there that talks about, among others, Quebec as being reliant on Saudi oil, and that's a problem for Canada and a big issue. That is false. Quebec actually gets its oil from the United States and from Western Canada. The reversal of the Line 9 pipeline actually means over the past 3 years, Quebec has gotten 3 times as much oil from the oil sands as it ever had before. So the games being played around misinformation for political partisan reasons out there, and I certainly don't blame you, man, because these so-called facts are floating around here, and that's one of the good things about having an opportunity to engage and to ask blunt questions about things that you may have seen or heard on the internet. And I'm happy to tell you that is simply not true. Quebec gets its oil from the United States and from our oil sands.
My question is, why would you charge a carbon tax on something that is not even proven to be factual and taking money away out of our pockets for Canada? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, sir. Okay. The question is, why are we putting a price on pollution? Let's start with the fact that climate change is real, and it is a challenge. A few years ago, the floods in Saskatchewan cost $600 million to Saskatchewan's economy. Every year we're seeing increases in droughts, in floods, in wildfires in BC and Fort McMurray. We're seeing more extreme weather events, from twisters to hurricanes down on the southern coasts of the United States. We are seeing an increased cost with the increase of extreme weather events. That is the cost. That is what is happening because of climate change. We know it is going to get worse. And we are right now in a situation where we are perhaps the first generation that knows how to solve this problem, but also the last generation that is actually going to be able to do anything to solve this problem and save the ecosystems and the planet that we have. That is the issue we have. So, most of us agree, we need to fight climate change, and we need to do it in a way that is going to protect our lives. Sorry, sir, I listen. Sorry, sir, I listen to you. China has a carbon tax. Okay? China has a carbon tax. Sorry. They're not doing it the way, so you think we should do things the way China does things? I know that's not what you're saying, sir. Sorry. What we need to do is look at a way that Canada can do what it needs to do to fight climate change and grow our economy and support regular people while we are making that change. That is the imperative we have. Now, at the very basic level, there is, as we've heard here, a disagreement on whether or not we have to act to fight climate change. I think we do. I know many Canadians think we do. There are some people, including the Conservative Party of Canada, that does not think we need to fight climate change. They have no plan to do that. They are not putting forward a plan to do that. That is something I think Canadians should be thoughtful about when we make a decision next fall about who we're going to vote for in the next election. But I am unequivocal, and it's a differentiation point if you like. I think we need to absolutely fight climate change, and I think we need to do it in a way that supports regular people through this change. That's why what we're moving forward with by putting a price on pollution, because very simply, and you're wondering how it works, we have carbon pollution in our atmosphere because it has been free for polluters to emit carbon pollution into our atmosphere for a long time. There is no cost associated with polluting the atmosphere. If you put a price on pollution, people then find it worth their while as large emitters, as polluters, to look for ways to reduce the price they have to pay for polluting the atmosphere. So by putting a price on pollution, we incentivize people to pollute less. It's basic economics. You want less of something, put a price on it. We want less pollution. We need less pollution, so we'll put a price on it.